It's time once again for another episode of the TheGingerBinger podcast. Welcome, guys. How you been doing? Joining me today is my good friend Lance. How you doing, Lance?
Oh, I'm pretty good, Dylan. I'm good. I'm very glad to be here.
That's good to hear, my man. It's been, a while since I've had a guest on the podcast, and it's good to get some fresh blood in here because I know you guys like listening to me, but come on, I do get a little stale. I must say so myself. So, Lance, what has been up? What have you been up to lately?
Well, I'm one of the hard workers that I know around me, and I'd say, aside from work, not a lot but sleeping. However, any free time that I have had has been spent watching Oscar-winning performances to this year, as well as some wonderful gameplay.
Oscar-winning performances. Now, Lance, since we're talking about the Oscars, do you ever think that one day we will see an Oscar for a leading performance in a video game?
Ooh, we're actually approaching that point in our history because there's actually a new game coming out from, I believe, Hideo Kojima, and it's called Death Stranding. And
is that with Norman Reedus?
It is.
I saw that trailer. Very weird trailer. Just naked Norman Reedus.
Just, I mean, come on. How much weirder can you get than a baby being birthed inside your ear, essentially?
I never knew what happened to that game because I just remember seeing the trailer and going, what?
Yeah, it's been in production for actually a long time now. I'm not exactly sure on an established time frame, but it's apparently supposed to be released in the next coming years, right?
Okay, beautiful. How long has that? Yeah, because I remember that was a couple years ago. I saw that on E3. Yes, interesting. No. Okay, I completely forgot about that game. I try to remember. E3 is one of those things that I really enjoy, like just catching the trailers. I remember, I think it was 2010. They did the Twisted Metal show when they released that, or it might have been the year before, but they just had the guys come out in this big like van and the guy with the chainsaw.
I didn't actually see that one.
They, like games like where they just show, okay, we're bringing this back or something. Like new games are really fun, but I also remember. You ever play Watch Dogs?
I actually avoided that game. Okay, the concept itself thrilled me.
Yeah.
It was something I was highly anticipating.
Same.
However, when it came out, the reactions that I was getting from like a lot of the friends around me who have played it and just the ones I've seen online, they've kind of shown me that it might not be all that I hoped it was going to be living up to be.
You're totally right. Your friends are totally right. I bought it brand new because I was excited because I saw the E3 footage and the footage looked great. You get the game and it's like it's like going from a 1080p video to 240. It's like, what the hell happened? And a lot of the missions I feel like don't, like the hacking that it shows off. They really, basically it's a shooter that you can use the option to hack things. A lot of it doesn't really work. It's basically like, it's as much of a hacking game as Batman Arkham Asylum is, where you just break into doors using a hacking device. That's literally it. Like, I mean, it's supposed to be like, okay, if you're being chased by the cops, you can hack the traffic lights that cause a jam or something. It barely ever works, like, because like you'll hack it. There's nobody on the street, or there's not enough use of it, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's a problem in a lot of games. I find is the hacking has never been fully utilized in a game to make it both difficult and challenging, but as well rewarding when you do it. Like I think the one that would come closest to that would probably be honestly, because I'm a simple man, I have to go with a BioShock. Honestly, I like the fluid system and having to direct where it goes in order to unlock the electrical currents to the machines.
It's funny because I originally started playing BioShock 2, and playing as, I think you play as a Big Daddy in that game, which I thought was, kind of fun, but I never, finished it. I bought BioShock 1, made it like a little way through, didn't finish it, didn't like it, so I have 2 BioShocks, and Shane's got the 3rd one. I've heard BioShock has never been a series that has ever interested me, and it's like, man, it's a cool concept.
You stopped at a good, it's not a good point, sorry, you stopped at a good game, but at a bad point. See, the 3rd one is astounding, especially if it's just graphics or even the little things, like...
Everybody says the 3rd one is hell of better. Everyone says 2 sucks, but I found 2 was a lot more fun than 1 for me.
Personally, I really enjoyed 2. I had no complaints about it. Being able to play as a Big Daddy was something you never really thought you'd want until you actually got it. And I mean, it didn't disappoint. That drill was just too much fun.
I do remember, though, I think I stopped in the first one after I killed the little sister for the first time. Is that what they're called? Little sisters?
Yeah.
Because I remember, I'm like, the Big Daddy was the scariest thing in that game because you're like, oh my, you're trying to get this little thing who's a little shit, and then that thing comes running at you. It's like, oh my god.
They're just metal monsters with no conscience.
And you just hear the footsteps and you feel the bump.
It's the one game I actually found did atmosphere perfectly, and this is coming from somebody who's not a big horror fan. I appreciate when it's really good, but it has to be really something to impress me, and the atmosphere it did everything it needed to.
That brings up a great thing because I think games especially are going for atmosphere because atmosphere really draws you in. I've been saying this a lot, but Life is Strange, I don't know if you've ever played it.
I haven't gotten to that one yet, but I do plan on sometime.
I think it's one of those ones that you need to sit down with a friend.
Oh.
Sit down with a friend and talk about your choices because there are two ways you can do everything, and you can see both ways, but with a friend you can always have that discussion because there's one part in the game where you have the chance to warn a character about something going on, and if you choose to warn her, you end up screwing her over. But if you don't warn her, you help her. But I remember Shani didn't warn her and helped her, and I warned her and screwed her over. And Shani's like, see, I'm the good person. I'm like, no, you're not. You're still a terrible person for not warning this person. But that is a game right there because of the soundtrack, and it's like Twin Peaks. I've been heard it described as, and I've watched a couple clips on there, and I'm just like, oh, I'm gonna like this show. But it's like if Heavy Rain dabbled in Twin Peaks. That's what it reminds me of.
Ooh,
like Heavy Rain?
I enjoy Heavy Rain. I didn't finish it. Twin Peaks, I cannot explain the depth of my love for that TV series. I have watched all of it. I've seen I've seen the whole show. I've seen the TV series, or I've seen the new TV series. Yeah. Sorry, and
the internet will cut you up.
I've seen the movies, and I also have. Well, my friend has that I gifted him. The Twin Peaks. Behind the scenes, like all the novels.
Yeah. I think though, if you really like atmosphere, check out Life is Strange. It's just a really good atmosphere. Like even if we didn't like high school, but it kind of gives you that nostalgia of like, oh, if things were different, you could go back when you were because you're a senior in high school, and those times were not all good, not all bad, but they weren't something you'd want to go back to.
I mean, if you were able to go back to them, especially with
the
some
knowledge
some of the things that you know now, and I mean not even like to change global events, just if you were like specifically in high school.
Oh, certain things you do, yeah.
The things you could change, and it's like, sure you could, but I mean, it's long gone now.
Oh yeah, you can't change the past, no matter how much we'd like to. Like certain things, like man, I should have asked that girl out, or oh man, I shouldn't have asked that girl out. That was so embarrassing.
The first time asking out a girl ever is easily the worst and greatest experience of your life because that is the turning point in which I'm going to be I'm going to be set, I'm going to find somebody, or I'm just the biggest fucking loser and nothing's going to happen.
High school was definitely it was a mixed bag. They were fun, they were crappy, but all in all, you make some good friends, you make some people you don't like, and high school really basically teaches you about the world, like in terms of like, especially because cliques and shit like that of who you're gonna get along with and who you're not, and you think
they're a real thing. Like they're not one of those, it's just in the movies. No, like every high school everywhere is exactly the same way. There's always gonna be the little cliques and the niches. Like
and you as a kid you think that's your whole life, but once you get out of school you're like none of it mattered. But in that time, that was everything, like the school dance Friday night was everything. If you couldn't get your shift change, you were basically missing out on like the Olympics or like the Super Bowl. There was
always something to talk about the next day, and I mean, sadly, I was always one of the guys who never went, so I had to be the guy who heard about it.
If there was a fight, it was like if there was a fight in high school, it was as big as Conor McGregor and Floyd Mayweather going at it because everybody, even teachers, were talking about it.
Oh yeah, it was the hottest news, just straight off the presses every day.
It's just like did you hear about like Justin beat the crap out of Kyle? Oh my god!
It's like he hung back and he wailed him with a haymaker. It's like,
Everybody's putting in. Everybody's like, okay, betting on the rematch. Everybody's like, oh no, the rival school is going to come over. Remember those times when the rival school was always threatening to come over? Our school was threatening to go over there, and nothing ever came of it though. But I really wanted to see like a 10-on-10 bench clearing brawl or something.
What? I remember something like that almost happened, and this was a middle school thing.
Okay.
And we were all on top of this giant snowbank, just everybody playing King of the Hill, and some guy brought like four or five different like kids from like other schools. They're like, oh, I hear you guys. I mean, you've been talking shit about us down in like Middleton and whatnot, and it's like, what the hell is? It's like.
Why'd you come all this way for that?
Yeah, what is even going on? I don't even understand. But then of course, some people that we know came out and were like, oh, you're talking shit about us, are you? It's like, come on, this is just.
And just for the viewers who are listening at home, Lance just did the best wacky waveable inflatable 2-man impression when he's like, "Come at me, bro." Oh my god,
it's just too silly.
Oh, definitely. And I think, that's one thing I feel bad about when you hear like celebrities or kids that grew up and they were rich and they never got to go to like a public school. You really don't get a taste for like how normal people act, or like not like middle class to lower class people. Because if you're just hanging around like more richer families or whatever, I feel like that's a very small bubble of people. In a public school, you get everybody.
Yeah, you have a mix from every background, no matter what. Just like rich, poor, just
super religious,
super intelligent, religious. Like there's always gonna be like social leagues that people try to jump into.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, turns out being one of the social outcasts ended up being one of the biggest groups.
Yeah, all the outcasts kind of made their own group and were like, wait a minute, we're the biggest group in the school right now. We don't fit in this jock, so all right.
I mean, speaking of which, I mean, you kind of created a whole group yourself. I mean, TheGingerBinger didn't just pop up out of nowhere, guys. He's been a comedian since high school.
Yeah, much to my teacher's dismay. Well, comedy is definitely an interesting thing because you get up there and it's not like when you're doing theater or movies. Because everybody, when you're watching theater, if you're playing, I said this before, if you're playing Hitler on stage and you do some horrible things, nobody actually thinks you're a fucking Nazi. But if you're doing a stand-up bit and you're doing something and you're talking about, let's just say, punching your girlfriend in the face. Let's just say that's the punchline. Like, I punched my girlfriend in the face. That's the joke. There are people in the audience who actually think it's like, he just punched his girlfriend in the face. And I get the logic behind it because this person's presenting themselves as themselves, like your person. In my opinion, when I go up on stage, I say the things that I wouldn't say in real life because you'd be a fucking psychopath if you did.
Plus, I mean, what kind of a reaction would a crowd get? They're not there to watch average Joe walk up on the stage and talk about his day. No, they want to hear exaggeration. They want to hear...
Yeah, exactly what you think. Louis C.K. did a funny bit where he was saying something about like, oh, he was on an airplane and the Wi-Fi wouldn't connect. He's like, well, this sucks. He's like, you're in a metal tube flying across the world. You shouldn't be allowed to do that. And he said, yeah, I exaggerated that. That was me who said that, not some random guy.
See, the only thing he lacked was cookies.
He lacked cookies and the restraint not to masturbate in front of people. Oh, God. So let's get off that topic,
yes,
please. So I was watching... Oh, did you hear there's a new Suicide Squad coming out? The animated.
Oh, I've heard very little.
Thank God. I really enjoy the DC animated movies. They do really good animation, like DC animated.
They do, but they're still...
Oh, their live action stuff since the Dark Knight trilogy ended has been crap. Pure crap. Superman, boring. Superman 2, boring. Or Batman vs. Superman, whatever it was called. Suicide Squad, I enjoy, but I watched it again the second time. I'm like, oh man, I wish I would have just watched this once.
And DC is something I love a lot of their characters, and I mean, I've given even like the live action shows and everything else a try. Like
Gotham is
all of them.
Gotham
honestly.
is one of those shows for me that is like I flick it on when I've got nothing else to do, and I just want to sit back and like kind of shut my brain off.
Yeah, like I sample it for enjoyment, but then it's like if I try to watch any length of time, I'm just like,
I can't. Yeah,
it's not. It's lacking so much that it's like I'm missing the substance that I know they have. They can deliver. It's
Absolutely. Just... I think, like Batman, The Dark Knight, for example, is, in my opinion, the greatest superhero movie ever made. But it is a movie about characters and story first, and then it's not about like how many things we can blow up, or it's like Batman versus the Joker. It's a story about one guy who believes something and versus another guy who believes the opposite, and they clash. I think that a lot of DC movies, and this is coming from a wannabe filmmaker, I guess, making my own shorts and shit, but they're missing like I feel like the basics of story, like
they lost their spirit along the way, and
yeah,
money took over, and then they seen what was making money like during the time, and it was like
that's what it is.
Action films and explosions, guns, violence. It's like it's great visuals to see when it's appropriate, when it's built up by this fantastic story.
Absolutely, I think Superman's a boring character in my mind, but I think you can still do a cool movie with Superman. Still do a fun movie or something.
I mean, my dad will always love the original Superman series, but he grew up with that kind of stuff.
Hey,
and it's good cheese sometimes.
You're allowed to like whatever you want, in my opinion. I said before, I enjoyed Suicide Squad the first time I saw it, and
exactly.
And some people will hold that against me, and it's like. I know some people who, when you tell them you like certain movies,
mm-hmm.
they judge you for it, and it's like, you're that guy who likes Suicide Squad. It's like, excuse me, I like Suicide Squad. I also love movies like Apocalypse Now, The Godfather. Just because I enjoy bad movies too doesn't mean I don't enjoy great films.
Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, I'm guilty of it myself. I mean, a good recent example here was Jumanji. Everyone was going to see this new Jumanji film that was like,
yeah.
Like, people were just going crazy saying that it was actually like really good, and it was surpassing everybody's expectations. I'm like, really, guys, really? And then I gave in. I decided I would have an opinion, and I went and seen the film, and for the most part, I enjoyed it. It's not some masterpiece. It's just really nice to see The Rock playing this really wacky like nerdy character, and then like Jack Black obviously playing the high school pretty girl.
Yeah.
And so it's good to see them step out of the roles. I mean, there were a couple instances that I didn't really care for, but I mean, overall it was enjoyable.
I saw the trailer for Jumanji, and it didn't interest me because I'm just like, it reminded me of every Rock and Kevin Hart movie that I've seen in like the past 10 years. Mm-hmm. But also it's like, all we're missing is Ice Cube in this, and it's generic city.
But Kevin Hart was the only one who didn't seem like he had fun in the role, but he didn't try to do anything different to just try to have fun. And you can tell everybody else is having much more fun than he is.
Kevin Hart to me is someone who's a funny person. I don't find his comedy funny though.
Yeah.
I went to see him do a stand-up live, and again, I think he's funny, but I find some of his jokes aren't. Like, I find Kevin Hart the person is a lot funnier than Kevin Hart the comedian. And I know I'm in the minority of this because look at the man's success, but...
Oh, I mean, well, he's known as the most, the hardest working man in Hollywood, right?
Yeah, that's his title, the hardest working man in Hollywood.
The man is, I mean, he's amazing. He puts in all the effort. It's just sometimes when you start to rack up that kind of credit and you start getting, movie roles left and right, it's a little extra money. And I mean, you still want to stay big. You want to stay relevant. Of course,
absolutely. I don't fault the man for it. How were you a fan of the original Jumanji with Robin Williams?
I actually loved that movie. However, I even acknowledge that is a very flawful movie, and that's not probably an actual word, but it needs to be invented specifically for some of the sequences that happen.
That sounds like a cooking show, floffily falafels or something like that.
Well, I mean, it's perfect for the TheGingerBinger, right?
There we go. We'll make our own cooking show with everything falafels.
Yes.
Patent pending. But I really enjoyed the original Jumanji. It's one of those nostalgia movies. I still think though it holds up in terms of it's got a pretty solid story in my opinion. Like a boy who wishes he could get away from everything, and then he does, and he comes back and it's gone, and he has to live with that.
It's one of those kids movies that actually had more than just heart and soul. It had like the solid emotional impact of danger and actual fear.
The mosquitoes in that movie, when they do the first those things freak me out to this day. Just the thought of giant mosquitoes.
Gee, yeah.
I love the hunter too. The hunter played by the guy who plays his father as well. I'm like, that's a nice little touch to it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I didn't see it coming, so I mean, it was even well established.
And Robin Williams does a phenomenal job.
Always.
Yeah.
I mean, he was an amazing actor. He did a lot of great things.
Absolutely. What do you think is his? What is the best Robin Williams movie for you?
Oh boy, that's just, you're asking too much of me, Dylan. I can't. I mean, I can list a couple of enjoyable films. Certainly, I mean, come on, the Robin Hood movie that he starred in was just.
I don't think I've actually seen that one.
Really?
No.
I could be misremembering because it was one of the movies I enjoyed as a child. So, actually, 1 second. I'd better look this up first.
Sure. I would say I like Dead Poet Society with him in it. He's very inspirational. I really, though, Good Will Hunting is really good with him in it. Where he plays the psychiatrist.
He plays him very well. Like, I think some of my favorite parts in that film were actually from him teaching the students.
Yeah, in Dead Poet, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I love his stand-up, though. Robin Williams' stand-up, the Weapons of Self-Destruction tour, I never laughed so hard at a special in my life.
Yeah, as a comedian, he is, I mean, not untouchable, but he's almost up there. Like, your gut was always hurting by the time you would finish listening to even one of his specials.
Oh, yeah, and it was, like, when I look for inspiration for people, he's definitely one of the people I look for, because he's, like, he was an actor, he was a serious actor, but he also did comedy. And he was hilarious at it. Like, the fact that he was so good and so diverse, like, his range was amazing.
Yeah, sorry, Robin Williams played in, Robin Hood, Men in Tights, 1993.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah.
What were we watching the other... We were watching Young Frankenstein. You ever see that movie with Gene Wilder, I think his name is? Willy Wonka, the guy who plays Willy Wonka.
Yes.
And at first, I've never been a big spoof movie person. I enjoyed Scary Movie, but I never watched any of the older spoofs. And then I watched Airplane, and I died laughing watching Airplane. Airplane was hilarious. The scene where they're in the cockpit with the blow-up doll is the funniest scene I think I've ever seen in movies. Young Frankenstein is really funny. It just takes a little while for me to get going because he keeps saying, "Yo, hi, Dr. Frankenstein." He's like, "Frankenstein." And it's a really, if you like spoof, check it out. Check those. I know you said you've seen Airplane.
Yeah, Airplane. I mean, it was just line after line, just the best comedy show you've ever seen that wasn't a comedy show. Like,
yeah. Well, Don't Call Me Shirley. Oh God. So speaking of movies, you were saying you were talking about like Oscar movies.
Yes.
What movies have you seen recently that are Oscar nominated or anything like that?
Oh, well, I have actually seen most of the Oscar nominees this year, sorry. And I have to say, there's been some outstanding films in great number this year. Compared to other years that we've had, like really good films, there was only ever like 3 or 4 standout appearances, whereas this year, at least 10 or more are just absolutely fantastic. Of at least 8 out of 10 or more.
I don't think I've actually seen any of the Oscar-nominated films. And the reason I think I like to see them, I guess, but I find a lot of movies that get nominated for like Best Picture fall under Oscar bait, where it's like it's a dramatic movie about, let's say, the Holocaust or slavery or like somebody's rights or along those lines, which are fine. It's perfectly, but I feel like all of those movies are like that, and they all are so heavy and so serious. And I think that maybe just because there's never, although Get Out is nominated this year, I believe, isn't it?
Yes,
Get Out. I have not seen that.
I've actually seen it, and it was another one of those movies that I was like, I watched the trailer, wasn't really something that appealed to me at all, and I mean, everybody around me was like, you have to watch it, it's one of the funniest films, but that's not supposed to be overly funny.
Yeah.
Like, it is supposed to be a horror film, but it's...
I think that's maybe what I'm saying, is that you never see like other genres get nominated. They're always like historical pieces. Like the year The Dark Knight didn't get nominated, which to me was like a slap in the face. I just find a lot of movies that get nominated or win have that like that factory feel to them. I guess if that's what I mean. Like it feels like they're saying like, yes, this film is noteworthy of an Oscar. It feels very snobbish.
Yeah, and I actually have the perfect movie that you have to see that will combat all of your fears on all accounts. Okay. And it's 3 Billboards Outside of Ebbing, Missouri.
That's what Alex says is his favorite film.
It is actually, like, you can say it's 9 out of 10 and be perfectly fine. I would even rate it a 9.5 out of 10.
Oh, wow.
It is because it's... I mean, I relate to it a lot because it's from a very small town setting like you and I.
Yeah.
And it tackles a lot of the issues that you would normally find in these small towns, but does it in not only a realistic light, but in a way that takes you by surprise every single time. You think, oh, I know exactly what's going to happen. This is this and this. Like, it's out of the question. No, you can't even think of what could happen next before it happens next, and you're shocked.
Okay.
every time.
That's interesting to hear because I find too with certain movies you have that moment where you know it's coming, like it sets up and you just roll your eyes, where you're just like, oh, here it comes, the motivational speech, and here just to double back right quick. I'm saying that I hate those kinds of movies, but I love the movie Dead Poet Society, which has those moments beat for beat. I'm not saying those movies that are terrible. No, absolutely not. They're well-made films. I just find that seems to be all that, gets the media attention. Like, this is the greatest film, this art film, and just makes you feel like an artist. It's like, movies, especially being in, like, film and television and doing comedy. Comedy, not so much. Comedy doesn't really have that, but acting and film, especially theater, you can't talk in theater without sounding douchey, and if you do, everybody looks at you like you're not taking it seriously enough.
Yeah, and then you gotta put everything into those kind of roles because you gotta be heard over a very large audience. So even your emotions and your reactions have to be so just
absolutely. Even just talking with other industry people, where it's like, because when I first got into acting, I was a lot more like, yeah, I would like to do like a role like that. That'd be fun. And then someone would be like, so. Like, even just small words, like, I would be like, okay, yeah, I'm reading this, I'm just reading my part. I would just say my part, and everybody's like, you're reading the text. And just small, like, it's... The arts community is definitely a community that I feel... They definitely don't live in the real world in terms of, like, how normal people... And what I mean by that is they can get in the head of a normal person and act, but there are a lot of people in the arts world who are very, like... They don't live on planet Earth, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, well, in a way, it can be argued that the reason for that is because the greats have always been somebody who has been more out there than anybody.
Absolutely. I totally get that.
And so, like, it forms itself in a lot of different societies as well as art, like, as far as, like, cooking and being a chef, actually. There's a lot of people who, despite knowing how to cook and everything else, they are absolutely forced to do strict regimens to be like, no, you have to call this French word for it's like if you're cooking vegetables, you're not cooking vegetables, it's legume.
Yeah.
It's everything else, and it's like you have to use all these very specific words that they've been like trained over the years to do, and that's how you got to become an actor and all that. Lots of training.
That's true. And I think also, like, just talking about it makes me think of, it's also maybe a way of protecting the business in terms of seeing how serious you are on it. Can you adapt to this? Because there are some people I've met, and there are a lot of great people in the arts community. I've met a lot of them, and there's some people it's like, my God, your head is so far rammed up your ass that, you could taste the goddamn hair gel you have.
There's a lot of those, yes.
But it definitely, like, it makes you start to think, like how every industry kind of has their own, like, little quirky, like, slang for things. And I think that's a way developed to kind of see, like, who's taking it seriously and who's been around longer,
It's definitely a good way to weigh out experience.
That's true. Although some people will use that like, oh, I'll be more important if I start talking like... maybe, too, that's my immaturity talking with people. Like, again, I don't like snobby people. I don't think anybody does, but...
They get higher up the company that way, right?
That's true.
They show the initiative, and despite them maybe not even having that initiative, they were... I don't know, blind enough to be able to follow the rules just
I
as
guess.
they were.
Yeah. Well, it takes all kinds. I'm glad I'm in the industry I'm in. I just wish I was making, like, a lot more money off it than what I am now, which is not much at all. By not much, I mean the paycheck hasn't been in for a long time, so I'm forced to work the regular job. And I don't mean that as a slight to anybody who does it. You have to do it to make money. It's just like, my goal is to not have to do that job to do what I want to do.
Exactly. And, you're slowly finding your... spot in the film world. You've already started off with your own craft dinner commercial.
Yeah, I forgot about that. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
If anybody is on Facebook,
Well, the funny thing is how many people came up to me while I was at my job and were like, are you in a craft dinner commercial? I'm like, yeah, that's me.
Yeah, everybody who knows you, they have you on Facebook, so they're going to see that commercial, and every time I've had at least 15 people approach me like, isn't Dylan doing, acting? I was like, yeah. I was like, I think I just seen him in that craft dinner commercial. It's like, he's making his name out there.
Yeah.
Well done.
It was funny because I was known as the KD guy at work from restaurant. I was like, hey, that's the KD guy. I'm like, yeah, that's me. And the funny thing is that the commercial wasn't even for craft dinner. It was for like renting apartments. They just had me eating craft dinner in it. So,
Really?
so if anything, feel like I sold more craft dinner things than I did apartments.
I mean, you can sell a product, Dylan. That's just
hey, I gotta just start doing like just ads for commercials and for products, and just start sending them to them and be like, listen, just with a little note that says you're welcome, pay me.
You're gonna be the new slap chop guy.
Yeah, there we go, a little sham wow there, you know. Hey, if that's the case, I'll do it. You know, I'll sell anything. You know, maybe I'll be the new spokesperson. I've done some stuff for the Liquor Corporation too, like some ads and stuff. So, you know, really, when you think about it, it's like you think, oh, when was the last big thing you did? But it's like, it's the little things too you got to remember, because it's like, you know, I've actually been busier this past year than I have ever been before.
Well, exactly.
Well, yeah.
You're moving up the ladder. You're showing your initiative, and I mean, people are listening. So.
Oh yeah, and this is another way to do it. Like I would love to build an audience for people to follow me and to be able to entertain them, because once you're building an audience, that's something like. I feel today, if you don't have a group, like a following, you're really missing out on a big opportunity to connect with people and to build your own brand.
Mm-hmm. And in this day and age, I mean, the internet has become everything. You can be absolutely nobody, and then all of a sudden you turn around the next day and you're huge.
Absolutely. I mean, look at people who unwrap Kinder eggs. Some people like them are famous for some people, like they're huge celebrities to like a certain small group or a certain group of people. But the fact that someone got famous for opening Kinder eggs shows you that really, as long as you stick with things and, you know, you have, and I think like the desire to keep going, you can build an audience off of something, in my opinion, completely ridiculous.
Actually, you couldn't have brought up a better point, because this leads me into another Oscar nomination. It is called Ingrid Goes West.
Okay.
Have you heard of this film at all?
I've not heard of Ingrid Goes West.
So,
is it like Five Goes West?
It stars Andre Plaza.
Okay.
And obviously from Parks and Rec.
Yeah.
And she is a stalker of sorts.
Okay.
Okay, so her role is this girl who follows people on social media.
Okay.
And she will befriend you. She will like every single picture. She will try to intermingle herself with your friends even.
Okay.
And she will try to become this important person in your life so that she can feel important.
Yeah.
But she does it in a very creepy stalker-esque way. Like she does stalk these people on like day after day after day. She finds financial like proof of where you've been as well.
Oh, that's creepy.
Yeah.
I love the sound of that already.
And I won't spoil the film too much here, just for all of those people here listening as well as Dylan.
Okay.
But there's a point in which she is celebrated for this horrible turn of events that happens to her. And she ends up not having the consequence that you would imagine she would have in these situations where she really stalks this one person, and she causes a lot of physical violence to end up happening in her family.
Yeah.
And it ends up being this really hardcore drama, like roller coaster, and it's a very good film, actually.
I'll definitely have to check that out then, because that concept sounds, especially too, that concept is very relevant because of social media, as we were saying. Because, you know, when you think of the stereotypical stalker, you think of somebody hiding in the bushes, watching you, you know, undress. It's like stalking has really, like, with everything, it evolves. It's like now you do it, like, we have a webcam right in here, like now someone could be watching, you know. If anybody wants to watch me, please don't, but you're not going to be entertained or anything.
I mean, you wouldn't be in for a terrible sight.
Yeah. Yeah. Right there, we see the light goes on. It's like, Lance, please put a Band-Aid over that, please.
Oh, God. They've been warning us this for years. We're being watched from every camera.
Well, did you hear the story, like, even just your phone? Because if the phone has a microphone, did you hear the story about Facebook?
I have heard that there's even something going on with like adult sites and everything else, where apparently, like, if you go on these sites, they will watch you. Like,
trying to get some blackmail on you.
I can't obviously back this up. I have no facts. It's just things that you would read online. Like,
yeah,
if you can look at credible sources and you can backtrack information, but at the end of the day, it's still something you found on the internet. But I mean,
here's the interesting thing. Okay, people our age, right? What happens when someone in our generation is running for prime minister or president, or And all they have to do now, instead of doing smear tactics of like stuff they did, like getting witnesses, they just go back to your Facebook post. So your porn system. Imagine instead of declaring your taxes, as president or prime minister, you have to show them your entire Google search history. How many people those records would never get out?
That would be just the worst, like the biggest nightmare in the world. But there's actually been a Black Mirror episode. I'm not sure if you've seen it yet.
Is it Shut Up and Dance?
The one where they record everything through their eyes.
Yeah. I saw that
implant.
Yeah, I saw that.
Imagine let's trade lives to see if you're compatible with me.
Yeah.
Like seeing everything you've ever done.
Well, to me, the thing that is really unsettling about this is the fact that when you hear like the Paul brothers, for example, stupid kids. I'm a couple years older than Logan, so yeah, I'm still a kid myself. But the fact, like people are always going to remember them for that stupid stuff. It's like, in 10 years, if you see Logan Paul, you'll remember him for that stupid suicide thing. But it's like, we all do stupid shit when we're young, especially when you see like little kids doing shit or like.
It's how all these fads get started too, right? Like the shaving sides of your hair.
You mean like I have?
No, like just like the one side.
Okay.
And then there's like for the longest time there was like big studded jackets.
Yeah.
And like there's been fads for every generation.
Look at the mullet.
I know, like.
I mean, like I think what it is though is I feel like when. Years from now, like people aren't going to be like nothing is forgotten in the world anymore. Everything is recorded, everything is put on, and I think we're gonna live in a world where it's like, oh, you did this when you're like 14 or 15. It's like, yeah, I was a fucking kid. I feel like there's never gonna be people that will forgive that, even though it has. You could have been age 60 years, and some people I think will never like. That one thing you did, when you were 14 is gonna define you forever. I think that's my biggest fear. Like your fuck ups when you're young will define you when you're older.
The one thing that I hope, and it's just me hoping in a hopeful society, is everybody just coming to a complete understanding that, I mean, we're all people, we're all humans. Everybody has done something stupid. They've researched things they shouldn't have. Like there's just people have done stupid things, but that doesn't necessarily make them bad people.
No. Or I mean, if you look at someone's Google history, for example, you start out, someone looking up Voice and Vision, a filmmaker's guide, right? And it winds up, let's just say, with the Anarchist Cookbook, right? If you go through their Google history, I think it's pretty easy to follow how someone gets from one place to another. It's just like, if you just look at where they start and where they end, they look like a psychopath. But
that's the problem with facts, though. If you don't know everything that happened at the beginning, you're not going to figure out how it actually came to be, kind of thing. Well, so it's like people are going to take a glimpse of your most recent stuff, maybe even go back a couple of years if they're really, if they're really wanting to know your old history and your old past. But they won't look to the very beginnings to see where it all started, so you get judged for everything.
Oh, yeah. Well, I remember, looking back, I think it was 15 when I posted it on Facebook, thinking about dropping out of school, and I did it just to get people to talk to me, because I was just kind of like, oh, I want to talk to someone, but I don't know what to talk about. And then I'm just like, looking back, like, that's the cringiest fucking shit. Like, when you're a kid, like, I would, like, when I see that now, I just roll my eyes, like, oh, stupid people, or, like for To Be Honest, but only doing the ones I want. It's like, oh Lord. But again, some people will always know them as that stupid person who did that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a way for some people to get attention. It's not the right way, and I mean, we just gotta get better at that. You just gotta learn from past mistakes and just get better.
And I think there needs to be a little lenience with, hey, people fuck up and people do stupid stuff. As long as, in my opinion, what's the intention of it? Like, was it malicious? Do they feel remorseful for it? And how bad was whoever was hurt? How bad were they actually hurt? Because if nobody's actually hurt by it, shut the fuck up then.
Because nothing's black and white. I mean, there's always just those middle zones that it's just... I mean, you gotta delve into a situation. Everything's based upon another's perception of you, so why not think of their perception of the situation?
I hate... This is one thing that's always driven me nuts, is public shaming on, online.
Yes.
I hate that because here's what it is. Here's how I view anything public shaming. You take a picture of somebody who parks in a handicap spot. They shouldn't do that. We all can agree on that. But the fact that you go up to them and call them out right there in front of everybody and start yelling at them and then post it on Facebook, just for them doing that slight thing, jerk move, They can lose their job. They can lose a lot of different things. And to me, the loss is not justified to what the offense was. And it's also, you don't know if that person's, in a rush for a reason you're not even sure of. People don't have to explain themselves to you. But I also get the logic of like, hey, you shouldn't park there. Just tell them that to their face. Don't put it online. That to me it's nobody else's business except for the two people who were there. And it drives me nuts, especially when you see people taking pictures of people's license plates and stuff. It's like, you can get somebody hurt that way.
Yeah, actually, another Logan Paul thing to do. Just letting people know where you live based on taking pictures of your house with your car and your license plate with the Post Malone situation.
Yeah, that was pretty shitty.
Oh, God.
That was, yeah.
Sorry, he's bad news to bring up.
Was that Jake Paul, though, not Logan?
Oh, sorry, I might have guessed.
I think that was Jake Paul. Yes. So I'm not trying to smear. I'm not trying to say Logan Paul's good. I'm just saying if we're gonna give shit to the right person.
Yes. No, that is my that was my fuck up.
Yeah, but yeah. So that's just how I feel about especially public shaming. Is just something I've never been a fan of. It's very manipulative too because you only see one side of the damn thing. It's the person who's holding the camera and yelling the loudest. I guess that's the internet though. It's take the good with the bad. Some great things can happen on it, and some horrible shit.
We have the internet that we know and love that we watch videos on every day. We seek out all sorts of information and learn more about the world around us. And then there's the flip side of that, which is the darker side of the internet. Like there's entirely different parts that you can go to that they're not there for people's benefit. They're there to to hurt other people, and people can get a rise out of that.
Absolutely, and it's kind of almost like just to kind of compare it. It's like the argument the internet has good and bad uses. It all depends on who's the operator of it. It's almost like when people say it's like a gun.
Well, it's like AI as well, right?
Yeah. What do you mean by that?
What do I mean by that? People say it's like a loaded barrel. Sorry, not a loaded barrel, loaded gun. Sorry. Yeah, some people consider AI technology to be like a loaded gun because it can either be one of the greatest benefits to mankind. You can, have all these different uses for it, but at the end of the day, it could also turn on you and just massacre the entire human race. So,
so it's the Terminator you're afraid of. Is that your deepest, darkest fear, Lance? Are you excited tonight to play Hidden Agenda? Just going on to do a different topic.
Yes.
Have you ever heard of that game before?
I haven't heard of it until you showed me it, but I have it all downloaded. It's all set to go. I've read all about it, and it seems like a great time.
Have you ever played Until Dawn?
No, actually. However, I have seen many people play it.
They made Until Dawn, the guys who did this. So I think, to my knowledge, it's you can play with other people and you're all trying to solve this clue, or you can play competitive where someone's given the task of trying to sabotage it from within, which could be really fun of it's I think it was Jimmy, I think it was Kate, and then someone's like, it was Barry.
I actually find these games just highly entertaining. There's a Jackbox game almost similar to it, actually.
Really?
That it's you have to use hand gestures, number figures, facial expressions to try to distinguish yourself from other people, and then you have a list of things that you have to do and reactions that you're supposed to give, and then the only thing they're given for information is copy the other people.
Okay.
And so if somebody's pointing at something in particular and you don't know who it is, you have to try to make your reaction be beneficial towards the lie.
Okay. I love games like this. I love games where you're is supposed to screw with the other people. That's the fun. It's like when Mario Party, when you have the option to take a star from someone, and it's just that moment where you're just looking at everybody in the room, and even if the person you doesn't have the most stars, you just look at them for a moment. You're just I'm gonna mess with you.
It always gets the biggest rise out of your competition because it's just I'm gonna kill you, I'm gonna get you, I'm gonna get you, I'm gonna get you. You and people just go nuts.
It's like getting the blue shell in Mario when you're in last place and all of a sudden you just shoot it and the person in front knows. It's just no.
But sometimes it's almost just as bad for second place to be right next to them.
Oh yeah, just to mess with people. If I could play a game where my whole goal is just to screw with people, those new Mario Party games or Super Mario where they're jumping and the person can use the pad to give them platforms, I would literally just be tapping the whole thing so no one could go anywhere. Like they go to jump, I tap right where they're gonna hit, and so they fall and die. I'm a terrible person, and I love it.
You've always been fond of playing the bad guy.
Hey, I was gonna say I love playing like the Telltale games, and like I play them how I normally will first, and then I go back and just play as the biggest prick in the world. Like I was playing The Walking Dead here maybe a few months ago, and it's literally when they're running on the train, and you can either choose to help one of them up or the other one, and the whole time I'm just yelling, "Run, run!" And it's just like they're both running, just run, run.
I think I did that like 3 times in just the first season alone. Just one of those situations, like, please, you have to help him. His leg's caught in the bear trap. And you have the option of like cutting his leg off or just kind of like leaving him there.
Yep. Or like when you tell them that they're eating people, and you have that moment where you're just like, it's people, and it's like, what are you talking about? And then you go like, okay, Larry, fuck you. You eat it, Larry. I hope you enjoy.
See, I was having a fantastic time playing that game, and I hated him so much.
Oh, yeah.
And Alex actually made me feel bad after I made the decision of killing him. He's like, he's just a grumpy old man. He's like, what are you doing? It's just like, pissed me off.
Yeah. Well, it's those moments, too, where you're pissed off at people, and then you just realize, I can see why they're doing it. Like, a lot of those games that are really good, each person has a reason for what they're doing, and you can relate to it. Like there was one moment, like, I killed one of the people on the farm, and it's like I stabbed him through the heart, and then Clementine's like, no! I'm like, oh, I didn't even know she was there. God damn it. I wanted to kill that guy so bad.
I know.
The one thing that drives me nuts about those games, and it's so, like, and it's realistic in that sense that you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. Because if it's like, I killed him, you killed him, how dare you? But if I don't kill him, why didn't you kill him? It's like, oh.
See, and I love the fact that they give you those options.
Yeah.
But the one downside is the Game of Thrones Telltale, which is you don't really have any options. You just got to deal with the consequences.
So yeah, the Telltale Game of Thrones, I think, is definitely their worst one.
Mm-hmm.
It's I really, the last one I did too was we had the choice between which brother died and which one stayed, and it's like, I like that, but I really felt like it missed a lot of potential. Like I would have liked it if it would have been like Heavy Rain. Like any of these characters can die at any point. Like they could die here, they could like Game of Thrones. Like the story's not set. The idea is like, because Heavy Rain kind of worked with all these characters converging on this location. Now they can die along the way, and whoever makes it to the end will have a different like.
See, that's one of the games that I always wanted to finish, but when I had first initially played it, I played it for like 30 minutes, and I was starting to enjoy it. But then my game, like the game that I actually had, just stopped working. It just glitched out and just completely died on me.
Heavy Rain or
Heavy Rain, and
same thing happened to Shani here.
I wonder if that was just like a malfunction.
She was midway through, and all of a sudden the game broke.
Mm-hmm. So it's like I stopped playing it. I went back to it like a couple years down the road, and I enjoyed it for the most part, but it didn't really hook me again. And I guess just that negative circumstance just drove me away from it.
Yeah, I totally get what you mean. All right, Lance. Well, it's been great having you here. We got to wrap things up, though. All right. Thank you for joining me on the TheGingerBinger podcast. Is there anything else you'd like to say?
Well, I'd just like to say it was a great conversation as always, and it's absolutely amazing to be here on the TheGingerBinger podcast.
All right, all right, all right. Keep on binging, folks. Over and out. Over and out. Over and out.